Billionaire CEO's poor secretary hides secret identity until he discovers truth. What would you do if the only way to save your dying father was to lie to the man you were falling in love with? That's the impossible choice Celeste Rousseau faced when she walked into billionaire Beckett Merrick's office on a warm April morning in 2024. Wearing borrowed shoes, carrying a resume full of gaps, and hiding a past that could destroy everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we dive into this incredible story of forbidden love, devastating secrets, and a romance that will make your heart race, I need to ask you something. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss another incredible love story. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, whether you're in the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Africa, or anywhere else in this beautiful world. I love connecting with you, and your support means everything to me. Now, let me tell you about the day Celeste Rousseau's life changed forever. April 8, 2024. Charleston, South Carolina. Celeste Rousseau, 34 years old, stood outside the gleaming headquarters of Merrick Technologies with $23 in her bank account and a father who needed heart medication that cost $400 a month. 3 years ago, in 2021, when she was 31, she'd been someone completely different. Elena Celeste Rousseau-Baptiste, daughter of one of Charleston's most successful investment advisors. Junior executive with a corner office. Engaged to a senator's son. Living in a penthouse overlooking the Battery. Then her father's business partner embezzled everything. The firm collapsed overnight. Her father, Marcus Rousseau, had a massive heart attack at age 63 from the stress. Her fiancé, the senator's son who'd proposed in front of 300 people at the yacht club, broke off their engagement via text message while her father was still in ICU. I can't marry someone with your family's reputation. It would hurt my political career. I'm sorry, Elena. It's just business. Just business. That text had been 3 years ago. Since then, Elena had become Celeste. She'd legally changed her name, moved to a different neighborhood, and built a new life from nothing. She cleaned offices at night, waitressed on weekends, and was about to interview for a secretary position she was wildly overqualified for but desperately needed. The receptionist smiled warmly. Miss Rousseau? Mr. Merrick will see you now. Top floor. The elevator ride felt eternal. Celeste smoothed down her borrowed navy suit, courtesy of her elderly neighbor who'd worked in corporate America in the 90s. The shoes pinched. The blouse underneath was worn thin. But she held her head high because dignity was free, and it was all she had left. The doors opened to reveal the most beautiful office she'd ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Charleston Harbor. The morning sun painted everything gold. Modern furniture, cutting-edge technology, and an atmosphere of wealth so profound it felt like a different planet. Miss Rousseau. A tall woman in a designer suit approached. I'm Karen, Mr. Merrick's current executive assistant. I'm leaving for another position in 2 weeks. Follow me, please. They walked through corridors that smelled like money and success. Celeste's heart hammered. Merrick Technologies was a cybersecurity empire worth billions. Beckett Merrick himself was legendary, a self-made billionaire who'd built his company from nothing, a man known for his brilliant mind and impossibly high standards. Fair warning, Karen said quietly, stopping outside massive oak doors. Mr. Merrick is intense. He's brilliant, demanding, and he doesn't tolerate incompetence. His last 4 secretaries quit within weeks. He works constantly, expects perfection, and doesn't do small talk. Why did the others quit? Because he's impossible to please. He sees every flaw, catches every mistake, and doesn't understand why everyone can't operate at his level. Karen paused. But he's also fair. If you're competent, he'll value you. If you're not, you won't last the week. She knocked twice and opened the door. The office was breathtaking. More windows, more harbor views, more evidence that some people lived in entirely different stratospheres of existence. But Celeste barely noticed the space because the man behind the desk stole every bit of her attention. Beckett Merrick, 37 years old, was devastatingly handsome. Tall, lean, with dark hair that looked professionally tousled, a jawline that could cut glass, and eyes that were an incredible mix of green and gold. Hazel eyes that seemed to see straight through her borrowed suit and into her soul. He wore an expensive charcoal suit with no tie, the top 2 buttons of his crisp white shirt undone, revealing just enough throat to make her forget how to breathe. Miss Rousseau. His voice was deep, controlled, with a hint of a southern accent he'd clearly worked to minimize. Sit. Not a request. A command. Celeste sat, crossing her ankles like her mother had taught her years ago when she was still Elena, back when deportment mattered and her biggest worry was which charity gala to attend. Beckett studied her with those intense hazel eyes. He didn't look at her resume. He looked at her. Really looked. Like he was solving a complex equation and she was the variable that didn't quite fit. "You're overqualified," he said finally. Her heart sank. "Sir. MBA from Vanderbilt. 5 years experience in investment analysis and portfolio management. You should be running a department, not answering phones." He leaned back in his chair. "So why are you here interviewing for a secretary position that pays $55,000 a year?" "Because my father is dying and I have no choice. Because my entire life imploded 3 years ago and I'm barely surviving. Because I'm desperate. I need the job," Celeste said simply. "Everyone needs a job. That doesn't explain why you're settling for something beneath your qualifications." "I'm not settling. I'm being realistic." She met his eyes, refusing to look away even though his gaze felt like standing under a spotlight. "I've been out of corporate work for 3 years. Nobody wants to hire someone with resume gaps that large, regardless of their education or previous experience. So yes, I'm interviewing for a secretary position. And I'd be exceptional at it." Something flickered across Beckett's face. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. What happened 3 years ago? Celeste's throat tightened. "My father's business collapsed. I was collateral damage. Marcus Rousseau Financial Services." Beckett's voice was neutral. "The embezzlement scandal. Your father's partner, David Chen, stole $18 million and fled to the Cayman Islands before the FBI could catch him." Ice flooded Celeste's veins. "You know about it." "I make it my business to know about every major financial scandal in the Southeast. It affects market confidence." He stood, walking to the windows with his hands in his pockets. "Your father is in assisted living now. Cardiac issues. You work 3 jobs to pay for his care. You live in a studio apartment in the historic district. You take the bus everywhere. You haven't bought new clothes in years. Am I close? You investigated me." Her voice came out harder than intended. "I investigate everyone who interviews for positions in my company. Due diligence." He turned back to face her. "What I want to know is whether you'll bolt the moment something better comes along. I need loyalty, Miss Rousseau. Competence and loyalty. I need this job more than you need me to take it. That's loyalty born from necessity. Or desperation. Sometimes they're the same thing." Celeste stood, meeting his gaze directly. "Mr. Merrick, I'm not going to pretend I'm here because I've always dreamed of being a secretary. I'm here because I'm good at organization, management, and anticipating problems before they become crises. I'm here because I'm desperate enough to take any legitimate opportunity, and smart enough to excel at whatever you need. If you want someone who'll work harder than anyone else because they have everything to lose, that's me. If you want someone who'll be gone in 6 months, hire someone else." Silence stretched between them. Beckett studied her with those hazel eyes that seemed to see every secret she was hiding. Then, shockingly, he smiled. Small, barely there, but real. "You're honest. That's rare." He returned to his desk. "The position is demanding. I work 16-hour days, weekends occasionally, and I expect near perfection. I need someone who can manage my calendar, coordinate with department heads, handle sensitive correspondence, and think 3 steps ahead. Can you do that? Yes. I also require absolute discretion. What happens in this office? My business dealings, my personal matters, my schedule, all of it remains confidential. Clear. Crystal clear. The salary is $55,000 with full benefits including health insurance. You'd start April 15th, 1 week from today. Karen will train you for her remaining time, then you're on your own. He pulled out a contract. Do we have an agreement? Celeste's hands trembled as she reached for the pen. $55,000. Health insurance for her father. Real income instead of piecing together 3 part-time jobs that barely covered rent. Yes. Absolutely yes. Excellent. Beckett handed her the pen, and when their fingers brushed, electricity shot up her arm. From the way his eyes widened slightly, he felt it too. Welcome to Merrick Technologies, Miss Rousseau. Don't make me regret this. I won't, Mr. Merrick. Thank you. Karen will handle your paperwork. I'll see you Monday morning at 7 a.m. Don't be late. I'm never late. Good. We'll get along fine then. As Celeste stood to leave, Beckett spoke again. Miss Rousseau. She turned. Yes. His hazel eyes held hers with an intensity that made her skin warm. Wear whatever makes you comfortable. I don't care about designer labels or expensive clothes. I care about competence and character. Understood. The kindness in his words, the awareness that he'd noticed her borrowed suit and was telling her it didn't matter, made her eyes sting with unexpected tears. Understood. Thank you. Outside the office, clutching her new employee badge and a contract that would change her life, Celeste allowed herself one moment of pure relief. She had no idea that in 5 weeks, she'd be in Beckett Merrick's arms. She had no idea that their secret relationship would consume her. She had no idea that the truth she was hiding would nearly destroy both of them. But that morning, riding the elevator down with $23 in her account and a $55,000 job in her future, Celeste Rousseau smiled for the first time in 3 years. April 15, 2024. Celeste's first day. She arrived at 6:45 a.m. wearing a simple black dress from Target, brand new, purchased with her signing bonus because she refused to start her new life in borrowed clothes. Her natural curls were styled in an elegant updo. She wore minimal makeup, simple gold hoops her mother had given her before she died, and the same worn heels because new shoes would have to wait another month. Karen met her at reception with a tablet and a warm smile. You're early. Mr. Merrick will appreciate that. He's already been here since 5:30. 5:30 in the morning? Every day. The man doesn't sleep. Karen handed her the tablet. This is your lifeline. Mr. Merrick's entire schedule, preferences, contact lists, everything. Memorize it. His coffee is black, no sugar. He hates meetings that could have been emails. He works through lunch but expects you to take breaks. He's demanding but fair. And he never, ever talks about his personal life. Why not? Karen's expression softened. His fiancé died 3 years ago. Cancer. They were supposed to get married that summer. He's been different ever since. Closed off, workaholic, won't let anyone close. It's like he decided feeling nothing was safer than risking that kind of pain again. Celeste's heart clenched. 3 years ago. The same year her life had fallen apart. They'd both lost everything in 2021, her to scandal and financial ruin, him to grief and loss. Maybe that's why she'd felt that spark when their hands touched. 2 broken people recognizing each other's fractures. The first week, Celeste shadowed Karen and learned everything. Beckett's schedule was insane, back-to-back meetings, constant calls, evening work sessions that stretched until 9 or 10 p.m. He was brilliant, demanding, and surprisingly kind in small ways. He never raised his voice. He said please and thank you. When she stayed late to help with a project, he ordered dinner for both of them without being asked. But he never smiled. Never joked. Never showed any emotion beyond professional courtesy. Until the day Karen left. April 22, 2024. Karen's last day. After she departed, Celeste found herself alone with Beckett for the first time with no buffer between them. "Coffee?" she asked, standing in his doorway at 7 a.m. Beckett looked up from his computer, and those hazel eyes, God, those eyes, found hers with an intensity that made her forget her own name. "Please. Thank you, Celeste." Her first name. He'd never used it before, always Miss Rousseau, always professional. But the way he said Celeste, soft, almost tender, made her knees weak. She brought his coffee, and when she set it on his desk, their fingers brushed again. That same electric current, stronger this time, impossible to ignore. "Thank you," he said, his voice rougher than usual. "You're welcome." She turned to leave. "Celeste." His voice stopped her. She looked back. "You're doing exceptional work. I just wanted you to know." The compliment shouldn't have mattered so much. But coming from a man who rarely praised anyone, it felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. "Thank you, Beckett." His name slipped out before she could stop it. Too familiar. Too intimate. But instead of correcting her, he smiled. Actually smiled. Small and beautiful and devastating. "You're welcome." That smile changed everything. That smile made Celeste Rousseau realize she was in serious trouble. Because she wasn't just grateful for this job anymore. She was falling for her billionaire boss. And falling for him meant eventually facing the truth she'd been hiding, that she wasn't just some poor girl who'd never had anything. She was a fallen socialite who'd once belonged to his world and was desperately pretending she'd never left. The lies were piling up. And lies, Celeste knew from bitter experience, always came with a price. By mid-May 2024, exactly 1 month after Celeste started at Merrick Technologies, she'd established a rhythm with Beckett that felt dangerously like intimacy. She learned his patterns. How he rubbed his temples when stressed. How he worked later when deal negotiations got complicated. How he stared at the harbor when the anniversary of Isabel's death approached. How he took his coffee, how he liked his files organized, how he needed silence to think and conversation to process. She anticipated his needs before he voiced them. Files ready before he asked. Coffee delivered at exactly the right temperature. Meetings rescheduled when she sensed he needed breathing room. And he noticed. "How do you do that?" he asked one afternoon in early May, looking at the perfectly organized presentation she'd prepared for a board meeting he hadn't even mentioned yet. "Do what?" "Know what I need before I know I need it." Celeste smiled. "I pay attention. You get this look, your jaw tightens, your shoulders go rigid, when you're about to request something. I've learned to read it. You read me." His hazel eyes studied her with that intensity that made her skin warm. "No one's been able to do that since." He trailed off. "Since Isabel." The name hung between them, unspoken. "I'm sorry," Celeste said softly. "Karen told me. About your fiancé. I can't imagine that kind of loss." Beckett was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You lost things too. Your father's health. Your career. Your whole life, really. It's not the same. Isn't it?" "Loss is loss, Celeste. The details change, but the grief is the same." He moved closer, not inappropriate, but closer than professional distance required. "We're both running from ghosts." "What ghosts are you running from?" "The ghost of who I was before I learned that loving someone means knowing you'll eventually lose them." His voice dropped lower. "I stopped letting people close after Isabel died. It was safer. Emptier, but safer. And now there's this woman who brings me coffee at exactly the right temperature and reads my moods like she's known me for years instead of weeks. And she makes me want to stop running." He stepped back suddenly, breaking whatever spell had woven between them. "I should get back to work." "Beckett. That was inappropriate." "I'm sorry. You're my employee, and I shouldn't have said any of that. I'm glad you did. He looked at her then, really looked, and Celeste saw want and fear and hope warring in his hazel eyes. This can't happen, he said quietly. You work for me. The power dynamic makes it impossible. I know. But I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop thinking about you either. The admission hung between them like a lit match near gasoline. We should keep things professional, Beckett said, but he didn't move away. We should, Celeste agreed, but she didn't step back either. This is a terrible idea. The worst. If anyone found out, your job would be compromised. You'd be seen as sleeping your way to success. I'd be seen as taking advantage. I know all of that. And you still want you. I want you. Celeste's heart hammered. I know it's wrong. I know it's risky. I know I could lose this job and my father could lose his health insurance and everything could fall apart. But Beckett, I haven't felt anything in 3 years except fear and exhaustion. You make me feel alive again. And I don't want to lose that, even if keeping it means risking everything else. Beckett closed the distance between them in 2 strides. His hand came up to cup her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. If we do this, he said, his voice rough with emotion, we keep it completely separate from work. At the office, you're Miss Rousseau and I'm Mr. Merrick. Professional boundaries, appropriate distance. But after hours. His thumb brushed her lips. After hours, maybe we can be something else. Something else like what? I don't know yet. But I want to find out. Beckett, I have to tell you something first. Tell me later. He leaned in, his forehead touching hers. Right now, I just want one moment where we're not boss and employee. Where we're just 2 people who've been dancing around this for weeks. Can I have that? One moment. Celeste should have insisted. Should have told him the truth right then about her past, her real identity, everything she was hiding. But when Beckett looked at her like she was precious and wanted and worth risking his carefully constructed walls for, truth felt less important than the moment. Yes, she whispered. One moment. He kissed her. It was soft at first, testing, giving her every chance to pull away. But Celeste melted into him, 3 years of loneliness and survival meeting 3 years of his grief and isolation, and the collision was earth-shattering. The kiss deepened. His hands tangled in her curls, destroying her careful updo. She gripped his shirt, pulling him closer, needing more, needing everything. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Beckett rested his forehead against hers again. That was amazing, Celeste finished. Complicated. That too. We can't do this at work. Not where people can see. Your reputation. I don't care about my reputation. I care about it. I care about you. He pulled back slightly, his hazel eyes searching hers. So we keep it separate. Professional, at the office. But after hours, at my place or yours, we can be us. Whatever that means. It was a terrible plan. Secret relationships never ended well. And when the truth came out about who she really was, and it would, eventually, everything would explode. But looking at Beckett, seeing vulnerability in his eyes for the first time since they'd met, feeling wanted after 3 years of being invisible. Okay, she whispered. Separate. Separate, he agreed. Then he kissed her again, and, separate, felt like the sweetest lie they'd ever told. The secret relationship officially began on May 18, 2024. Exactly 5 weeks and 3 days after Celeste had started working for Beckett. The rules were simple. At work, Miss Rousseau and Mr. Merrick. Professional distance. Appropriate boundaries. No indication they were anything beyond CEO and secretary. After hours, Celeste and Beckett. 2 people learning how to feel again. The first few weeks were intoxicating. Beckett would text her after work, "Dinner at my place? I'll cook." She'd arrive at his penthouse overlooking Forsyth Park, All floor-to-ceiling windows and modern furniture and views that took her breath away, and he'd have prepared actual food. Not ordered. Prepared. "You cook?" she'd asked the first time, watching him plate pasta with surprising skill. "Isabel loved to cook. She taught me." He set the plate in front of her. "After she died, I kept doing it. It made me feel close to her. But lately," he met her eyes. "Lately I cook because I want to. Not because I'm trying to hold on to ghosts." They'd talk for hours. About books, music, dreams they'd once had and dreams they were afraid to have again. He told her about Isabel, not just her death, but her life. How she'd been brilliant and funny and fierce. How she'd fought cancer for 2 years with grace and courage. How she'd made him promise to live fully after she was gone, and how he'd broken that promise by shutting down completely. "She'd be angry with me," Beckett admitted one night in June, stroking Celeste's hair as she lay against his chest on his couch. "She'd say I was wasting the life she fought so hard to keep. She'd tell me to stop hiding." "Then stop hiding," Celeste said softly. "Honor her by living." "I'm trying. You make me want to try." Celeste told him about her father, the man he'd been before the heart attack and stroke. Brilliant, generous, too trusting. How David Chen had exploited that trust and destroyed everything they'd built. "Your father didn't fail," Beckett said firmly. "He was betrayed. Those are different things. Try telling Charleston that." "Who cares what Charleston thinks?" "I used to," Celeste didn't say. "I used to care desperately what Charleston society thought because I was part of it." Their physical relationship was intense, passionate, and complicated by the constant awareness that they were breaking rules. Beckett never touched her at work. Not even a brush of hands. Not even when they were alone in his office late at night. The separation between CEO Beckett and after-hours Beckett was absolute. "Sometimes I forget," Celeste told him one night in July, 2 months into their secret relationship. "At work, you're so distant. So cold. And I know we agreed, I know it's necessary, but sometimes I just want to touch you. Just to remember you're real." "I know." Beckett pulled her closer in his bed, his arms wrapped around her in the darkness. "But if I let myself touch you at work, I wouldn't be able to stop. And people would know. Your job would be at risk. You'd be judged, whispered about, reduced to the secretary who's sleeping with the boss. I won't do that to you. What if I don't care what people think? I care enough for both of us." He kissed her forehead. "You deserve respect, Celeste. I'm protecting that. By keeping me a secret." The hurt in her voice made Beckett tighten his arms around her. "Not a secret. Private. There's a difference." He tilted her face up to his. "Celeste, my world is intense. Scrutiny, pressure, judgment. If I claimed you publicly, told everyone you're mine, all of that would crash down on you. Are you ready for that?" "No." Because his world was her old world, and she wasn't ready to face it again. "I don't know," she admitted. "Then we keep it private for now. But make no mistake." His hazel eyes blazed with possession. "You're mine. Secret or not, private or public, you're completely mine." The possessiveness should have bothered her. Instead, it made her feel safe. Cherished. Valuable. For the first time since her world collapsed, Celeste felt like she mattered to someone. She just wished her happiness wasn't built on lies. August 2024. 3 months into their secret relationship. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Which is why Celeste should have known it was about to fall apart. She was working late, as usual, when Garrett Lawson, 38, Beckett's best friend and the company's chief operations officer, stopped by her desk. "Still here?" Garrett smiled warmly. "You work harder than anyone I know. Beckett's lucky to have you." "Just doing my job." "No, you're doing 3 people's jobs." Garrett leaned against her desk casually. "Hey, I'm throwing a dinner party Saturday night at my place in Ardsley Park. Small gathering, good food, even better wine. Beckett's coming, and I told him he could bring a +1. Think you could help me convince him to actually bring someone? The man needs a social life beyond spreadsheets. Celeste's heart stopped. A +1. He never brings anyone. Ever. But I told him if he shows up alone one more time, I'm setting him up with my wife's insufferable cousin Meredith. Garrett grinned. So I figured you coordinate his whole life, you must know if he's seeing anyone. The irony was suffocating. I'll mention it, Celeste managed. After Garrett left, she walked into Beckett's office and closed the door. Garrett invited you to a dinner party, she said carefully. As a +1 situation. Beckett looked up from his laptop, his expression unreadable. What did you tell him? Nothing. He doesn't know about us. He thinks I'm helping you find a date. Do you want to go? Together? As a couple? Publicly? This was it. The moment where secret became real, where private became public, where hidden became visible. Going to a dinner party in Ardsley Park meant seeing Charleston society. Meant risking recognition. Meant facing the possibility that someone would know her as Elena. I'm scared, Celeste admitted. Of what? Of your world. Of not fitting in anymore. Of people judging me. Beckett stood, walking around his desk. At work, they didn't touch. But his eyes held hers with intensity that felt like a physical caress. Celeste, you fit anywhere. You're brilliant, capable, and stronger than anyone I know. And if anyone judges you for working hard and rebuilding your life, they're not worth your time. Easy for you to say. You were born into success. I was. She caught herself. I'm just a secretary who takes the bus. You're not just anything. You're extraordinary. His voice softened. But if you don't want to go, we won't. I won't push you into something you're not ready for. Celeste looked at him, this man who'd been so careful to protect her, who'd kept them secret to preserve her dignity, who saw her value even when she struggled to see it herself. I want to go, she said. I'm tired of hiding. You're sure? No. But I'm sure about you. About us. And that's enough. What Celeste didn't say, she was terrified that going public meant her past would surface. That someone at that party would recognize Elena. That her carefully rebuilt life would crumble. But she was more terrified of losing Beckett by staying hidden forever. Sometimes you have to risk everything to gain anything. She was about to learn that some risks destroy you. And some save you. The question was, which one was this? Saturday, August 17, 2024. The dinner party that would change everything. Celeste stood in Beckett's penthouse bedroom at 5 p.m., staring at the dress he'd had delivered that morning. Deep emerald silk. Elegant, sophisticated, expensive enough to make her stomach hurt. The kind of dress Elena would have worn without thinking twice. The kind of dress Celeste couldn't afford but Beckett had insisted on. Let me do this, he'd said when she protested. Not because you need it, but because I want to see you in something that makes you feel as beautiful as I think you are. Now, wearing that dress with her natural curls professionally styled and makeup that made her look like her old self, Celeste stared at her reflection and saw Elena staring back. The woman she'd buried. The woman she'd sworn never to be again. Celeste. Beckett appeared in the doorway, and his expression when he saw her made every fear worth it. My God. You're stunning. It's just the dress. It's you. He crossed to her, his hands settling on her waist. Always you. The dress is just silk. You're the masterpiece. He wore a navy suit that fit him perfectly, his dark hair slightly tousled, his hazel eyes warm with affection and want. They looked like they belonged together. Which was exactly what terrified her. Garrett's house was a historic mansion in Ardsley Park with gardens that belonged in magazines and a circular drive filled with expensive cars. Cars Celeste recognized. Makes and models that had once filled her father's driveway when he hosted dinner parties for Charleston's elite. Her hands trembled. Beckett took one, squeezing gently. We can leave right now. Just say the word. No. I'm okay. Just nervous. Why? His thumb traced circles on her palm. You've handled billion-dollar deals and impossible clients without breaking a sweat. Why does a dinner party scare you? Because I used to attend parties exactly like this. Because these people might recognize me. Because my entire carefully constructed life is about to implode. Just want to make a good impression, she lied. Inside, the party was exactly what she'd feared. Wealthy professionals, tech entrepreneurs, old Charleston money mixing with new. Wine flowed freely. Conversation sparkled with wit and intelligence. Crystal chandeliers, catered food, a pianist playing softly in the corner. It was elegant, refined, and exactly like the life she'd lost. Garrett greeted them enthusiastically. Beckett, you actually brought a date. This is historic. He turned to Celeste with a warm smile. And you must be the mysterious +1. I'm Garrett. Celeste Rousseau. She shook his hand. Wait, Rousseau? You Beckett's secretary, aren't you? The room seemed to pause. Several people nearby turned to look. I am, Celeste said, lifting her chin. I also happen to be his girlfriend. Both things are true. Garrett's wife, Amanda, appeared beside them with a bright smile. I think it's wonderfully romantic. Plus, anyone who can handle Beckett's impossible schedule and still want to date him deserves a medal. She linked her arm through Celeste's. Come on, let me introduce you around. Ignore the gossips, half of them married people they met at work anyway. As Amanda led her into the crowd, Celeste felt Beckett's eyes on her. Protective, proud, concerned. The first hour went smoothly. She talked technology with engineers, discussed market trends with investors, and remembered how to navigate these social waters. These skills hadn't disappeared. They'd just been dormant, waiting. She was laughing at something Amanda said when she saw her. Catherine Beaumont, 36 years old. Daughter of Charleston's most prominent art gallery owner. Someone who'd been at Elena's engagement party in 2020. Someone who would absolutely recognize her. Catherine was walking toward her with a champagne flute and a curious expression, her eyes narrowing as she studied Celeste's face. Excuse me, Catherine said, tilting her head. I'm sorry, but you look incredibly familiar. Have we met before? Celeste's heart stopped. I don't think so. No, I'm certain I know you from somewhere. Catherine's eyes widened in recognition. Oh my God. You're Elena Rousseau-Baptiste, aren't you? James Rousseau's daughter. The world tilted sideways. I'm sorry, I think you're mistaken. No, I'm positive. We met at your engagement party to Thomas Morrison, the senator's son. I remember because you wore that gorgeous blush pink gown and the party was at the yacht club. Catherine's face showed genuine confusion. What happened? I heard about your father's business scandal, but you just disappeared. Where have you been? Conversations around them stopped. People turned, including Beckett, across the room, his expression shifting from confusion to shock. Celeste's voice failed. You went by Elena back then, didn't you? Elena Sienna Rousseau-Baptiste. Your father owned Rousseau Financial Services, very exclusive, very high-profile clients. You were junior VP there before everything collapsed. Catherine looked genuinely sympathetic now. I'm so sorry about what happened. That partner who embezzled everything, it was such a scandal. Is it true you lost everything? And you changed your name to Celeste? Yes, Celeste whispered, because lying was pointless now. I changed my name. Started over. But you're working as a secretary now? Catherine's eyes went to Beckett, who was walking toward them with a face like carved stone. Oh my God. You're dating your boss. Does he know who you really are? Beckett reached them, his hand settling on Celeste's lower back. Possessive, protective, but his voice was ice. "Excuse us." He guided her toward the garden, away from the curious stares and whispered conversations that had erupted. Outside, under string lights and stars, Celeste finally breathed, and waited for her world to end. "Elena," Beckett said quietly. "Your real name is Elena Rousseau-Baptiste." "Elena Sienna. I go by my middle name now. Legally changed it 3 years ago." Her voice shook. "Beckett, I can explain. You lied to me." His voice was so calm it was terrifying. "This entire time. 7 months. You let me believe you were just some woman who'd fallen on hard times, when the truth is you were Charleston elite. You belonged to my world, all along. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you." "That's the same thing, Celeste. Or should I call you Elena?" He ran his hand through his hair. "You knew I needed honesty. I told you about Isabel, about how her death destroyed me, about how I struggle to trust anyone. And you sat there nodding sympathetically while hiding massive pieces of who you are." "I was scared." "Of what? Of me knowing you used to have money? Of me knowing you came from the same social circles as everyone in that room?" His hazel eyes blazed. "Or were you scared I'd figure out you were using me to get back what you lost?" The accusation hit like a physical blow. "That's not fair. Isn't it? You were engaged to a senator's son. You lived in penthouses and attended yacht club parties. Then you lost it all and suddenly you're working as my secretary, dating me, gaining access to my world again. I fell in love with you before I knew about your world." Celeste's voice cracked. "I fell in love with you when I thought keeping this job was the most I could hope for. When all I wanted was to afford my father's medication and maybe sleep more than 4 hours a night. The money, the lifestyle, your social status, I don't want any of it back." "Then why hide it? Why not just tell me the truth?" "Because I knew you'd react exactly like this." Tears streamed down her face, ruining her makeup. "I knew you'd think I was another social climber using you. I knew you'd look at me differently, wonder about my motives, question everything between us. I was terrified of losing you, so I hid the parts of my past that would make you doubt me. You don't get to make that choice for me, Celeste. Or Elena. God, I don't even know what to call you. I'm both. Elena was who I was born. Celeste is who I became after I lost everything. Both are real. Both are me." Beckett stared at her for a long moment. "How can I trust anything about you now? How do I know what's real and what's performance? You fooled me completely. You played the role of struggling secretary so convincingly that I never suspected you'd once been exactly like everyone in that room. I wasn't playing a role. Yes, I used to have money. Yes, I used to belong to Charleston society. But that was 3 years ago, Beckett. 3 years of cleaning offices at night and waiting tables and taking buses because I couldn't afford a car. 3 years of watching my father deteriorate in assisted living while I worked myself to exhaustion trying to pay his bills. That struggle was real. The poverty was real. The desperation was real. But the honesty wasn't." The words landed like a death sentence. "I wanted to tell you," Celeste whispered. "So many times. But every time I tried, I was terrified you'd leave. And I couldn't lose you. You're the only good thing that's happened to me in 3 years. I'm not a thing you get to keep by lying, Celeste. I'm a person who deserves honesty from the woman he loves." His voice broke slightly on that last word. "I love you. God help me, I love you so much it terrifies me. But I don't know if I can trust you now. Please. Beckett, please. I'll tell you everything. No more secrets, no more hiding. Just give me a chance to make this right." He stepped back, creating distance that felt like miles. "I need time. I need to think about this without you standing in front of me making me want to forgive you before I've even processed what you did." "How much time?" "I don't know." He pulled out his phone, texting someone. I'm having my driver take you home. Take the week off from work, paid leave. I'll contact you when I'm ready to talk. Beckett. Please go, Celeste. Before I say something I'll regret. A car pulled up. The driver stepped out, opening the back door. Celeste looked at Beckett, this man she loved desperately, who was looking at her like she was a stranger. For what it's worth, she said softly, I love you. I've loved you since that first week when you smiled at me and made me feel human again. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I wasn't brave enough to trust you with the truth. Beckett's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Celeste climbed into the car and watched through tears as Beckett stood alone under the garden lights, looking as broken as she felt. The next week was the longest of Celeste's life. She stayed in her studio apartment, unable to eat, barely sleeping, replaying that night over and over. Her phone stayed silent. No calls, no texts, nothing from Beckett. On day 3, Amanda called. I'm so sorry about Catherine, she said. She feels terrible. She had no idea she was exposing something you were keeping private. It's not her fault. It's mine. I should have told him. For what it's worth, Beckett looks as miserable as you probably feel. Garrett says he's been working 20-hour days and sleeping in his office. He's hurting too. That made it worse somehow. Knowing she'd hurt him. On day 5, her father's nurse called. Miss Rousseau? Your father had a small health scare. He's stable now, but he was asking for you. He seemed worried about you. Celeste visited that afternoon, sitting beside her father's bed in the assisted living facility. Marcus Rousseau, 66 years old, looked at her with eyes that were still sharp despite the stroke damage. You look sad, baby girl. His speech was slow, but clear. Just tired, Dad. Liar. You look heartbroken. He took her hand with his good one. Tell me. So she did. Everything. The job, falling for Beckett, the secret relationship, hiding her past, the truth coming out, everything falling apart. Did you love him? Her father asked. So much it hurts. Does he love you? He said he did. Before he knew the truth. Then he still does. Love doesn't disappear because of hurt feelings. It just gets buried under fear. Marcus squeezed her hand. Baby, you made a mistake. You should have been honest from the start. But you made that mistake because you were scared, not because you were malicious. There's a difference. He doesn't trust me anymore. Then earn it back. Show him through actions, not words. Prove that the woman he fell in love with is real, regardless of what name she uses or what past she carries. What if he won't let me? Then you accept it and move forward. But first you fight. You fight for love like your life depends on it. Because, baby girl, love is what makes life worth living. I learned that from your mother. Don't give up without fighting. That night, Celeste sat in her apartment and made a decision. She would fight. Not by begging or pleading or making grand gestures, but by showing Beckett, through consistent, honest action, that she was exactly who he'd fallen in love with. Even if he never forgave her, she owed him the truth. All of it. September 12, 2024. 1 week after the dinner party disaster. Celeste received a text from Beckett at 7 a.m. Can you come to the office today? We need to talk. Her heart hammered as she dressed carefully. Simple black pants, a cream blouse, minimal jewelry. Professional. Honest. No pretense. She arrived at Merrick Technologies at 8 a.m. The office felt different now. Colder. Or maybe that was just her fear. Karen's replacement, a efficient woman named Brenda, smiled sympathetically. He's waiting for you. Good luck. Celeste knocked on Beckett's door. Come in. He sat behind his desk, looking exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes. Stubble he hadn't shaved. His suit was immaculate, but his face showed every sleepless hour of the past week. Sit, he said quietly. She sat, folding her hands in her lap to hide their trembling. I've been thinking, Beckett started. About what you said. About who you are. About what's real and what's not. Beckett. Let me finish. His hazel eyes met hers. I was angry. I'm still angry. You lied by omission and that hurt. It hurt because I trusted you with my grief, my fears, everything. And you held back pieces of yourself. I know. I'm sorry. But I've also been thinking about why you held back. And I talked to my therapist. Yes, I have one. Started going after Isabel died, and she helped me understand something. He leaned forward. You weren't hiding your past to manipulate me. You were hiding it to protect yourself. After everything you'd lost, after being abandoned by your fiancé and your friends, you were terrified of being judged for failing. So you became someone new. Someone without that baggage. Tears welled in Celeste's eyes. The problem, Beckett continued, is that you didn't trust me with the truth. You decided for me that I couldn't handle it, that I'd reject you, that I'd see you differently. You took away my choice to love all of you, including the parts you were ashamed of. You're right. I did. And that was wrong. Yes, it was. He stood, walking to the windows. But I've made mistakes too. I was so afraid of being hurt again after Isabel that I kept everything surface level. I told you about her death but not about my fear of loving again. I kept our relationship secret to protect you, but really I was protecting myself. Keeping you at arm's length even while pulling you close. What are you saying? Beckett turned to face her. I'm saying we're both broken people who've been hurt badly. We both made mistakes because we were scared. And I'm saying... He walked back to his desk, pulling out a folder. I'm saying I want to try again. If you do. Hope flared in Celeste's chest. Really? But with conditions. No more secrets. You tell me everything, about your past, your family, your fears, all of it. And I do the same. Complete honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. I can do that. Also, you're not my secretary anymore. Her heart stopped. What? I'm promoting you. Director of Strategic Operations. You'll work directly with department heads, coordinate major initiatives, and actually use that MBA you've been wasting on scheduling meetings. He slid the folder across the desk. Salary is $90,000 with full benefits. You start Monday. Celeste stared at the contract. Beckett, I don't understand. You're promoting me after I lied to you. I'm promoting you because you're brilliant at what you do, and you've been overqualified from day one. The lying was about our personal relationship, not your professional competence. Those are separate. His expression softened. Also, if we're going to date publicly, really date, no more secrets, you can't be my secretary. The power dynamic would be too complicated. This way, you're a senior executive. My equal professionally, my partner personally. You want to date publicly? Celeste, Elena, whoever you want to be called, I want everything with you. Public dates. Meeting each other's families. Building a real relationship with no hiding. But only if you want that too. I want that more than anything. She stood, moving around the desk. And I want to be called Celeste. Elena was who I was. Celeste is who I became. She's stronger, braver, more honest. She's who I want to be. Then Celeste it is. Beckett reached for her hand. Can we start over? For real this time. I'd like that. He pulled her close, and for the first time in a week, Celeste felt like she could breathe again. I missed you, he whispered against her hair. I missed you too. So much. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that from now on, when you're scared or ashamed or worried about something, you'll tell me anyway. Even if you think I'll judge you. Even if it's hard. No more hiding. I promise. And you promise me something too. What? Promise me you'll let me all the way in. No more keeping me at a distance because you're afraid of losing me. If we're doing this, we're really doing this. Beckett cupped her face, his hazel eyes intense and full of emotion. I promise. No more walls. No more fear. Just us. He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of new beginnings. When they finally pulled apart, Celeste smiled through happy tears. So, Director of Strategic Operations? You've earned it. And we're really doing this? Public relationship. No more secrets. We're really doing this. Beckett smiled, that rare, beautiful smile that made her heart race. Fair warning, my world can be intense. There will be scrutiny, questions, probably some judgment from people who think we're moving too fast or that our relationship is inappropriate. I can handle it. I've survived worse. I know you have. That's what makes you extraordinary. Over the next 2 months, Celeste and Beckett rebuilt their relationship on a foundation of complete honesty. She told him everything. About her engagement to Thomas Morrison, the senator's son who'd dumped her via text. About the country club where she'd learned to play tennis. About the debutante ball where she'd worn a designer gown worth more than most people's cars. About the shame and humiliation of falling so far so fast. He listened without judgment, asking questions, understanding, accepting every piece of her past. He told her everything too. About Isabel's 2-year battle with cancer. About holding her hand when she died. About the year after where he'd worked himself to exhaustion because feeling nothing was easier than feeling grief. About his fear that loving again meant risking that kind of pain. They went public. Attended charity galas together. Had dinner with Garrett and Amanda. Visited her father together, Beckett and Marcus bonding over business and old movies. I like him, her father told her one Sunday in October. He looks at you like you're the sun. He makes me feel like I am. At work, Celeste thrived in her new role. She coordinated major initiatives, managed department heads, and proved that her MBA hadn't been wasted. Some people whispered about her relationship with Beckett, but most respected her competence and stopped caring about her personal life. Catherine Beaumont called to apologize profusely. I'm so sorry I exposed you like that. I didn't realize. It's okay, Celeste said honestly. You did me a favor. I needed to stop hiding. By November, Celeste felt like she'd finally found her place. Not as Elena, the fallen socialite. Not as Celeste, the struggling secretary. But as herself, a woman who'd survived loss and built something new from the ruins. On November 8, 2024, exactly 7 months after she'd first walked into Beckett's office for that interview, he took her back to his penthouse after work. I have something for you, he said, leading her to the windows overlooking Forsyth Park. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The park below was beautiful, peaceful, perfect. Beckett took her hands, his hazel eyes serious and full of emotion. 7 months ago, you walked into my office wearing borrowed shoes and carrying a resume that didn't do you justice. You were desperate, terrified, and trying so hard to seem like you had it all together. I remember. I hired you because you were honest about needing the job. You didn't pretend to have some noble reason for applying. You just said, I need this, and I believed you. Where are you going with this? I'm going to the part where I tell you that I need you too. He squeezed her hands. I need your laughter, your strength, your honesty. I need the way you make me want to live fully instead of just existing. I need you, Celeste. All of you. Every version of yourself you've ever been and every version you'll become. He dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. Celeste's breath caught. I know we've only been together 7 months. I know some people will say it's too fast. But after Isabel, I learned that life is too short to waste time being scared. So I'm asking you now, in front of this sunset, in this city we both love, will you marry me? He opened the box to reveal a stunning emerald-cut diamond, elegant, classic, perfect. Celeste looked at the ring, then at Beckett's face, hopeful and vulnerable and full of love, and felt her heart overflow. "Yes," she whispered. "God, yes." Beckett slid the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into his arms and kissing her like she was air and he'd been drowning. When they finally broke apart, both crying and laughing, Celeste held up her hand to admire the ring. "It's beautiful. It's nowhere near as beautiful as you." Beckett wiped her tears with his thumbs. "I love you, Celeste Rousseau. Soon to be Celeste Merrick. I love you too. Thank you for seeing me. All of me. Even the parts one tried to hide. Especially those parts. They're what make you strong." They stood together as night fell over Charleston, two broken people who'd found healing in each other's arms. The engagement announcement hit Charleston society like a bomb. Billionaire tech CEO Beckett Merrick engaged to company executive Celeste Rousseau. The articles were mostly positive, though some mentioned the unusual circumstances of their relationship beginning when she was his secretary. Celeste didn't care. She'd spent 3 years caring what Charleston thought, and it had nearly destroyed her. Now she was free. Free to be herself. Free to love openly. Free to build a life without shame or hiding. The wedding planning began immediately. Amanda insisted on helping, dragging Celeste to bridal shops and cake tastings and venue tours. "Small wedding," Celeste insisted. "Just family and close friends. Nothing too elaborate." Define small. 50 people maximum. They settled on the historic Charleston Hotel's garden courtyard, intimate, beautiful, and meaningful. The same hotel where Celeste's parents had gotten married 36 years ago, back when her father's business was thriving and life was simple. Marcus cried when she told him. "Your mother would be so happy," he said, his speech still slow but improving with therapy. "She always wanted you to marry someone who saw your heart, not your pedigree." Beckett sees everything. Even the parts one tried to hide. That's how you know it's real, baby girl. The wedding was planned for February 14, 2025, Valentine's Day. 3 months away. "Enough time to plan properly," Amanda declared. "Not so much time that you'll stress yourself into an early grave." Celeste threw herself into work while planning the wedding. Her new role as Director of Strategic Operations challenged her in ways she'd forgotten she loved. She was using her education, her skills, her brain. And Beckett was her biggest champion. "You're incredible," he told her one night in December, watching her present a new initiative to the board. "You command that room like you were born to it." "I was born to it. I just forgot for a while." "You didn't forget. You just had to learn to see your value outside of wealth and status. Now you know it was always there." December brought the holidays. Beckett met Celeste's extended family, cousins and aunts who'd disappeared after her father's scandal but were suddenly interested again now that she was marrying a billionaire. "They don't matter," Beckett said when she expressed frustration. "The people who abandoned you showed their character. You don't owe them anything. But they're family. Family is who shows up when life is hard, not who appears when life is good again. Your real family is your father, Amanda and Garrett, the people who stood by you." He kissed her forehead. "And me. I'm your family now." Celeste met Beckett's family too. His mother, Caroline, was warm and welcoming. His sister, Emma, was skeptical at first. "You were his secretary?" But warmed up when she saw how happy they were together. "He's been dead inside since Isabel," Emma told Celeste privately. "You brought him back to life. Thank you for that. He brought me back to life too." Christmas was spent with both families, chaotic, loud, full of laughter and love. Celeste cooked her mother's traditional dishes. Beckett helped her father with physical therapy exercises. They opened gifts and watched movies and did all the normal things that had felt impossible 3 years ago when her life was falling apart. "This is what I want," Celeste told Beckett on Christmas night, curled up on his couch with snow falling outside. "Not the money or the big house or the status. Just this. Us. Family. Love. You have all of it. Forever. Promise. I promise. January 2025 brought wedding preparations into full swing. Celeste found her dress, simple ivory silk with lace sleeves, elegant but not ostentatious. The kind of dress that felt like herself, not Elena trying to impress Charleston society. Amanda found the perfect flowers. Garrett helped Beckett write vows that made both men cry during practice. Marcus's health improved enough that he'd be able to walk Celeste down the aisle. I never thought I'd get to do this, Marcus told her during a fitting. After the stroke, I thought I'd lost everything. My business, my health, the chance to see you happy. But here you are. Thriving. In love. About to marry a good man. None of this would have happened without you, Dad. You taught me to work hard, be honest, and never give up. That's what got me through the last 3 years. You got yourself through, baby girl. I just gave you the tools. You did the building. 1 month before the wedding, Beckett surprised Celeste with a trip to Napa Valley, the same place they'd talked about visiting during one of their late-night conversations when their relationship was still secret. They stayed at a vineyard estate, toured wineries, and spent 3 days just being together without work or planning or stress. On their last night, walking through the vineyard at sunset, Beckett stopped and turned to face her. I want to say something before we get married and life gets crazy again. Okay. Thank you. For what? For being brave enough to take that secretary job even though it was beneath your qualifications. For being honest about needing help. For falling in love with me when I was still half dead inside. For fighting for us even when I was too angry to fight back. He cupped her face. For being exactly who you are, strong, brilliant, flawed, honest, extraordinary. Thank you for choosing me. Celeste's eyes filled with tears. Thank you for seeing me. The real me. Not the polished society girl I used to be or the struggling secretary I pretended to be, but the actual me. Complicated and messy and trying her best. The actual you is my favorite version. They kissed as the sun set over the vineyard, two people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their separate disasters and built something beautiful. February 14, 2025. Valentine's Day. The wedding day. Celeste woke in Amanda's guest room. Tradition dictated she and Beckett spend the night before apart, with butterflies in her stomach and joy in her heart. Amanda helped her dress, doing her hair and makeup with gentle efficiency. You look beautiful, Amanda said, stepping back to admire her work. Like a bride who's genuinely happy, not one who's performing happiness. I am happy. Deliriously, impossibly happy. Her father arrived at noon to escort her to the venue. He moved slowly with his cane, but his eyes were clear and his smile was broad. You look just like your mother on our wedding day, he said, his voice thick with emotion. She's watching, baby girl. I know she is. The ceremony was at 3 p.m. in the hotel's garden courtyard. 50 guests, just as they'd planned. Close friends, family, people who actually mattered. Celeste stood at the entrance with her father, looking down the aisle at Beckett waiting for her under an arch covered in white roses. He wore a navy suit that made his hazel eyes even more striking. His expression when he saw her was pure love, open, vulnerable, unguarded. Ready? Her father asked. More than ready. They walked down the aisle slowly, Marcus's steps careful but steady. When they reached Beckett, Marcus placed Celeste's hand in his with tears streaming down his face. Take care of my girl, Marcus said. With my life, Beckett promised. The ceremony was simple and beautiful. The officiant talked about love that survives loss, relationships built on honesty, and the courage it takes to let someone truly see you. Then came the vows. Beckett went first, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. Celeste, 7 months ago you walked into my office and changed my life. You made me remember what it felt like to be human instead of just existing. You showed me that love isn't about perfection, it's about seeing someone's flaws and choosing them anyway. I promise to always see you, all of you, and love every version of yourself you show me. I promise to be honest even when it's hard. I promise to choose you every single day for the rest of our lives. I love you. Celeste's turn. She took a shaky breath. Beckett, when I met you, I was broken. I'd lost everything. My career, my social standing, my sense of self-worth. I was pretending to be someone simpler because the real me felt like a failure. But you saw through all of it. You saw my value when I couldn't see it myself. You loved me when I was still learning to love myself again. I promised to never hide from you again. I promised to be brave enough to be vulnerable. I promised to choose honesty over comfort, truth over fear. And I promised to love you with everything I am for as long as I live. There wasn't a dry eye in the courtyard. The officiant smiled. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Beckett, you may kiss your bride. Beckett pulled Celeste close and kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been holding his breath. The guests erupted in applause and cheers. When they finally broke apart, both crying and laughing, the officiant presented them. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Beckett Merrick. More applause. More cheers. More joy than Celeste had thought possible after 3 years of pain. The reception was perfect. Dinner, dancing, speeches that were funny and heartfelt. Garrett told embarrassing stories about Beckett. Amanda told touching stories about Celeste's strength. Marcus gave a toast that had everyone in tears. To my daughter, Marcus said, raising his glass with his good hand, who survived the worst and came out stronger. And to Beckett, who saw her value when the world had written her off. May your love be as strong as the trials you've both overcome. To love, everyone chorused. Beckett and Celeste shared their first dance to At Last, by Etta James, the song Celeste used to hum while cleaning offices, back when she was just trying to survive one day at a time. I love you, Mrs. Merrick, Beckett whispered as they swayed together. I love you too, Mr. Merrick. No regrets about the secretary job? Not a single one. It brought me to you. Best hiring decision I ever made. They danced until midnight, surrounded by people who loved them, in a city that had witnessed both their falls and their rise. February 14, 2027. Their second anniversary. Celeste Merrick, now 36, stood in the nursery of their new home overlooking Charleston Harbor, holding their 3-month-old daughter, Isabel Marcus Merrick, named for both Beckett's first love and Celeste's father. Beckett appeared in the doorway, his hazel eyes soft as he watched his wife and daughter. She's finally asleep? Finally. Took 3 lullabies and a lot of walking. He crossed to them, wrapping his arms around both. Happy anniversary, love. Happy anniversary. 2 years married. 3 years together. Best 3 years of my life. Celeste leaned back against him. Mine too. Through the window, Charleston sparkled in the distance, the city where she'd fallen, risen, hidden, and finally found herself again. Marcus lived with them now, his health stable enough to enjoy his granddaughter but requiring daily care. He spent his days telling baby Isabel stories and teaching her to grab his fingers with surprising strength. Celeste's career had skyrocketed. She was now Chief Operating Officer of Merrick Technologies, second only to Beckett. Her MBA was finally being used fully, and she loved every challenging minute. But her favorite role was this: wife, mother, daughter, woman who'd survived and thrived. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't taken that secretary job? She asked Beckett. Every day. And every day I'm grateful you were brave enough to walk into that interview wearing borrowed shoes and honest desperation. Best decision I ever made. Second best, Beckett corrected. The best was saying yes when I proposed. You're right. That was better. Baby Isabel stirred in her sleep, making soft baby noises that melted both their hearts. She's going to grow up knowing she's loved, Beckett said softly. She'll never have to wonder if she's enough. No, Celeste agreed, brushing a finger across Isabel's downy cheek. She'll know her worth isn't tied to money or status or what society thinks of her. She'll know that falling down isn't the end, it's just a chance to get back up stronger. Speaking from experience. The best kind of experience. The kind that teaches you what really matters. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching their daughter sleep, listening to the distant sounds of Charleston settling into evening. "I have something for you," Beckett said eventually. "Anniversary gift. I thought we agreed no gifts this year. We just bought the house." I lied. He grinned, that rare, full smile that still made her heart skip after all this time. "Stay here." He disappeared and returned moments later with a small wrapped box. Celeste shifted Isabel carefully and opened it one-handed. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet with 3 charms, a tiny typewriter, a heart, and a baby booty. "The typewriter is for the job that brought us together," Beckett explained. "The heart is self-explanatory. And the booty? For Isabel. For our family. The one we built from nothing but honesty and stubbornness and love." Celeste's eyes welled with tears, happy ones, the only kind she seemed to cry these days. "It's perfect. Help me put it on." He clasped it around her wrist, his fingers lingering on her pulse point. "I have something for you too," she said. "But it's not wrapped." "What is it?" She took a breath. "I'm pregnant again. Found out this morning." Beckett's face went through about 17 emotions in 3 seconds before settling on overwhelming joy. "You're serious?" 8 weeks. I was going to wait until dinner to tell you, but standing here with our daughter, in our home, on our anniversary." She shrugged. It felt right. He kissed her, carefully, mindful of the sleeping baby between them, but with enough passion to make her toes curl. "Best anniversary gift ever," he murmured against her lips. "Better than the bracelet." "The bracelet is a very close second." February 14th, 2032. Their 7th anniversary. The Merrick household was chaos in the best possible way. Isabel, now 5, was helping her 3-year-old brother Marcus Jr. build a block tower in the living room. Their golden retriever, Biscuit, supervised with the weary patience of a dog who'd seen too many block towers toppled. Celeste watched from the kitchen, where she was attempting to frost a heart-shaped cake while fielding calls from her assistant about Monday's board meeting. "Mama!" Isabel called. Junior knocked it down again. "It's okay, sweetheart. You can rebuild it." "But I wanted it perfect for Daddy's present." "Daddy will love it no matter what." That's what love is, appreciating the effort, not just the result. Isabel considered this with the gravity only a 5-year-old could muster. "Okay. But Junior has to stop being a demolition monster." "I'm not a monster," Marcus Jr. protested. "I'm a dinosaur," he roared to prove it. Biscuit howled in solidarity. Celeste laughed, ending her call and abandoning the cake. Some things were more important than perfect frosting. She joined her children on the floor, helping them rebuild the tower while making dinosaur noises that sent both kids into hysterics. This was her life now. Messy, loud, imperfect, wonderful. Beckett found them like that when he came home from work, his wife and children covered in block dust and dog hair, laughing so hard they were crying. "Best thing I've ever seen," he said from the doorway. "Daddy!" Both children launched themselves at him. He caught them with practiced ease, one in each arm. "Happy anniversary, love," Celeste said, standing and brushing herself off. "Happy anniversary." He kissed her over the children's heads. "I see the tower construction is going well. It's been demolished approximately 47 times. But we persist." Story of our lives. That night, after the kids were in bed and the house was finally quiet, Celeste and Beckett sat on their back porch overlooking the harbor. 7 years, Celeste said, leaning into his shoulder. "Can you believe it? Sometimes I still can't believe any of it. That you walked into my office that day. That I was smart enough to hire you. That you loved me back. I didn't just love you back. I loved you first. I was just too scared to admit it. We were both scared. We got brave together." She looked at him, this man who'd seen her at her worst and loved her anyway, who'd given her a family and a career and a life she'd never dared to imagine during those dark years of struggle. "Do you ever miss the quiet?" she asked. "Before kids, before the chaos?" "Not for a second. The chaos is the best part." He pulled her closer. "Besides, quiet is overrated. I spent 2 years in quiet after Isabel died. It nearly destroyed me. I'll take the noise. Even when Marcus Jr. is being a demolition dinosaur? Especially then." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the lights of Charleston twinkle across the water. "I was thinking," Beckett said eventually, "about that first interview, when you told me you needed the job to pay for your father's care. What about it? You were so honest. So raw. You didn't try to impress me with your credentials or your background. You just told me the truth about your situation." He turned to look at her. "That honesty is what made me notice you. It's what made me fall in love with you. It's what makes our marriage work. Even when the honesty is hard? Especially then. Hard honesty is the only kind that matters." Celeste thought about all the hard conversations they'd had over the years. The fight about whether to move when Isabel was born. The disagreement about her promotion to CEO when Beckett stepped back to spend more time with the kids. The ongoing discussions about work-life balance and parenting philosophies and 1,000 other things that marriage required negotiating. None of it had been easy. All of it had been worth it. "I love you," she said simply. "I love you too. More every day. Even when I hog the covers? Even then. Though I reserve the right to steal them back." Fair enough. They stayed on the porch until the stars came out, two people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their separate disasters and built something extraordinary. Not perfect. Never perfect. But real. Honest. True. And that, Celeste had learned, was so much better than perfect. 8 years after walking into that interview in borrowed shoes, Celeste Merrick, born Elena Rousseau-Baptiste, had everything she'd lost and more. Not because she'd married a billionaire, but because she'd learned the most important lesson of all, that her worth was never tied to her circumstances. She was valuable when she was broke and desperate. She was valuable when she was thriving and successful. The money, the status, the social standing, none of it defined her. What defined her was her honesty, her resilience, her capacity for love, and her willingness to be truly seen. And Beckett? He'd learned that love wasn't about protecting yourself from pain. It was about being brave enough to risk pain for the chance at joy. Together, they'd built a life that proved the best stories don't end with happily ever after. They end with honestly ever after. And that's exactly what they had.